So as you can see, there is a pretty good scratch in this stone. So what we have to start with on a scratch as deep as this is we're going to have to start with the diamond pads. Full set of diamond pads are available from your distributor for this application. We also urge everyone to follow all safety suggestions and requirements for all tools and compounds and the cleaners that are being utilized for these applications. So in this case, I'm going to wear gloves while I use the acetone. This is where the paper towels come into play. General cleaning. You want to make sure the surface is free of all debris in order to maximize the polishing process. And as you can see, even using acetone, it's still there. Now the first rule of thumb when you're looking at a scratch or something of this nature is that you need to evaluate what grit are you going to start with. You never want to start with a harsh pad. Always start with something higher than you think you're going to possibly need. I typically would start with 3,000, not knowing what the surface damage is, which actually produces a very minute amount of polishing or cutting of the surface. However, I have dealt with many of these. Therefore, I am going to actually opt to go to the 800 pad. And I'm going to start with the 800 pad to take this scratch out. I'm going to fit the 800 pad to the omnidirectional sander, a DA. And I am going to lightly wet the surface. We don't want to have it slathered with water. We just want to lightly wet the surface enough to lubricate the polish pad. Here we go. That is starting to take the scratch out, so I think I'm going to stay with this. Sometimes it's better to run a higher grit longer than to jump down to a lower grit. Remember, each grit you go down is going to exponentially increase the time that you're going to be surface polishing. So if you spend more time on a higher grit, it will speed up the process in the end. I'm now going to clean a little bit of this residue off the surface, just making it easier so that you can see how the polishing or the surface grinding, basically is what we're doing at this point, is coming, and how much the scratch is now starting to fade away. Once again, I'm just going to use paper towels to clean the surface and get rid of the excess residue. The scratch is still there, so it's going to take a little bit of time to take it out. So let's move on. So we have run this for a little bit, not long, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually at this point going to drop down to say a 500 grit. So I've opted to drop down to a 500 grit on this particular scratch because it is a very deep scratch. And we're going to do this. Should be noted that I'm doing half the tile, and when we're finished with this, we'll give you a close-up so that you can see that the scratch is still there on one side and that the finish is flawless on the other side. I stop periodically to check the scratch because you only want to remove as much material as necessary for the scratch to be gone. So I periodically stop to check and see where and how the scratch is. You can see the scratch in the stone as you're polishing it because it will resemble a white, small little pen line in the surface of the stone. In order to remove that, I still need to go more. Once again, I am checking to see at what point the scratch is at. And there is still a very minute pen line right here. The scratch went clear across to this point over here. I've been focusing on this side of it to demonstrate the difference so that when we're done, you can see the scratch on this side, the surface quality, and then you will see the quality that we're able to produce. There's no doubt that that is a honed tile. At this point, the scratch is so light that I'm confident going through the rest of the grits is going to take it out. For time purposes, we deleted the polishing of the normal diamond pads. However, it took approximately 25 minutes to remove the scratch and get it to the 3000 grit, which is available in the kit, or if you have it on hand, you can utilize your own. As you can see, we left a stripe in the center here, the 3000 finish, the original finish on the left-hand side, and you can still see the scratch through the rest of it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to actually polish this portion that we did with the 3000. In your kit, the standard kit, it comes with a 6-inch pad. 6-inch pad will facilitate the same process. Remembering, we have to turn this at 10 to 12,000 RPM. For the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to use our smaller pads fitted on our smaller grinder, turning at 12,000 RPM. This will accommodate a smaller area. These are great for your small, tighter areas. And then you have the larger pads for full countertop restoration. We also have pads available, and ask your distributor, for doing floors, walls, and so on.